Cool. Alright, make sure. Hey guys.
Hello.
Give it a hot second. It's alive, for sure?
Yeah, can you see?
Reload.
You have one shoulder.
Oh, yeah, we're good. Sweet. Just do a little sound check. Oh, and a viewer. Alright guys, we're going to get started here in just a second. Make sure the sound. Yeah, we're good. Lovely. Cool. Hi folks, good morning. See yourself on delay?
Alright.
Okay. So, maybe in the shot. Eventually I'll get in there. Okay, let's just move there. It's on delay. Yeah. So, hi everybody, good morning. Guy Ferdman here, of course. And this is a really very good friend of mine, Stephanie Staidle.
Hi.
Say something.
Hello.
So let me give you a little bit of background. And maybe a month ago, I did an interview with Sean, who was my roommate. Steph saw that, and Steph is a really great person to also have a conversation with about transformation, personal growth, entrepreneurial journeys. And we've known each other for 6, maybe 7 years now? Is that
7
possible?
years, 2009.
2009.
Yeah.
So we met each other at Landmark in the Self-Expression Leadership Program. Believe it or not, I was Stephanie's coach. That was actually how we met. And then we coached together, I believe, didn't we?
No, I think that then we both went into pro at the time.
Okay.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, so when I got my business going, and I got into online marketing and like business opportunity type stuff, Steph was actually one of the first people that was like, I think I'm gonna do this. And she was really there right in the beginning and like met all the same people I met in the beginning. And so we've been on a journey together for a long, long time. I was up in San Francisco in August and had an opportunity to have some drinks and dinner with her and her boyfriend, who's also an absolute stud. And Steph is in this like really pivotal place in her life right now. So we'll just see where the conversation goes, but ultimately I think there's a lot of insight to be gained from where she struggled, where she's had breakthroughs, and really I feel we had an amazing conversation here last night that she's turned this incredible corner in her life that's, I think, a really big expansion towards what freedom actually looks like, what living free looks like. So I'm happy to start wherever you want. I can start with, you know what? Let's go back to actually when I first started working with you at Landmark.
Yeah.
Like, where were you in life at the time? What do you? Well, say whatever you want about that intro, obviously. But where were you in life at the time? And like, why did you start doing that work? What was it that you were seeking? And then how is that, slowly transgressed to where you are today?
Well, let's see. I first did the Landmark Forum in 2009. I was very resistant to it. My best friend Cheryl invited me as her guest, and I walked out of the room, and I said, I'm not going to share my life with a perfect stranger. I was a lot more crude than that, but I up and walked out, and...
My audience likes the F-bombs.
Yeah, okay, good.
Or at least I made them like the F-bombs.
Okay. So, she said I huffed out, and I left it at that, and I started to see the changes that she was making in her life, and I got more and more curious and more interested in what was happening. And I also, at the time, I was really struggling with love, finding, I just couldn't seem to get it right. I kept bringing in the wrong men, or the men that just weren't a good fit for me, and I couldn't figure it out. I had been in therapy. I am a licensed art therapist in addition to a business coach now. So it's like I knew psychology, and I was like, what's going on here? So at the time, the economy was kind of going down, and Landmark was offering a discount. And I'm a sucker for a good sale. so Cheryl sends it to me, and I'm like, oh sweet, like $200 off.
I can do this.
And And I registered. So January 2009, I took my landmark forum, and it completely blew my mind. It was simple, but profound. And no one had ever told me that forgiveness would be my access to freedom. Never mentioned it. My therapist never mentioned it. It just wasn't in the conversation. And what I got was that if I could forgive my father and forgive myself and forgive my exes, that's my key to freedom. And forgiveness, I also learned in order for me to forgive, I really embraced forgiveness as giving up the right to resent. So I had it collapse with condoning. Perfect. So that's why I was so holding on to, like, no, it's not okay. I can't let this go.
I was going to ask, what's your definition? Perfect,
yeah. So after that, it was so profound for me. I was like 20 plus years off my shoulders, and was able to open my heart and love. I didn't realize how angry I was. And from then on, I was just like, more, please. So I did the full curriculum, and then I just felt called to coach. And I coached once before I met you, and then the second time I came in as a coach, you were my coach.
Awesome.
So within an hour, a year. Yeah.
And you have a master's degree, right?
I do.
Right?
Yes.
And when you came to work with me at the time, was it because you wanted a financial gain at the time? Did you want to create further transformation? Because you were leaving the industry, right? It's like a very underpaid industry.
Yes. Yeah.
Even though it can profoundly impact people. I remember that. You were like really like, well, I'm not going to get anywhere financially with this industry. What had you start investigating into like the online marketing world? What intrigued you about it? Why did you say yes to that opportunity?
Yeah, well, at the time I was in a new relationship that was long distance. So I was creating a life that I wanted, which was one that I could work and live from anywhere. And I've always been a free spirit, and I thought, okay, I'll get my master's in art therapy, I'll become an art therapist, I'll eventually have my private practice. And I was working in a nonprofit at the time, but I felt, I was sharing this last night, like I felt like I was called into more. Like that even having a private practice as an art therapist, I still wasn't using my gifts fully. There was a leader inside that needed to come out. And it was like I've always known I wanted to be in business for myself and wanted to be my own boss and didn't want anyone else to tell me what the fuck to do. And when you gave me the opportunity, it was like, oh, here's that opportunity to get started in that direction.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like it was something I didn't know I was looking for until it was in front of me.
Got it.
Until you offered it.
Got it.
And you also heard something, I think, in my speaking, where you're like, I've got something for you.
Yeah.
You need to check this out.
Yeah. I am committed to leadership training. And what I have found is, from years of actually training at SatoriPrime, that I started developing a sixth sense for, I think everybody has leadership capabilities, but some people are just further along in the journey. And I started building this like sixth sense capacity to just kind of like see who was further along. And I also noticed that I did not relate to myself as a leader for a long time. And then somebody had to come along and kind of like yank it out of me. I don't know if anybody directly told me. My vision of leadership came out of working with a lot of people, and then slowly starting to really believe that I can make a difference. I'm like, no, I can make a difference. And at first I was like, did I make a difference? And then, but like the evidence kept stacking up, so eventually I could not deny it. So what I noticed is that there were certain ways of being, certain ways of speaking that people have that just say, I'm there. And we're about to get a view of a cat. Come on, change.
Oh, wait.
So he just wants to be in the shot.
Yeah.
And so I would go into a room of like 100 people. Hey, bud. I'd walk into a room of 100 people, and I would just be able to see the people who I'm like, all right, well, if I worked with you, if we started having these conversations, I'm confident the next 3-4 months, like I could pull this thing out of you. And that started becoming a pattern. Steph was definitely one of those people. And online marketing for me is a communication vehicle. Yeah. So it's like for people who have the capacity to make a difference, it's like the best skill on the planet to learn, because we all have something to share. But the online marketing education allows you to direct that message at people that it would directly impact, like now. Yeah. So like, wow, like giving that skill to somebody is profound and can make a difference and aligned with my mission and what I want to create on the planet, which is like just mass transformation. And I know that's not going to happen as a one-man show. So Steph and many other people have come across in the last 5-6 years have that capacity. But here's where I want to take it now.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, please.
Talking about leadership, I think I noticed this, is that people try to escape their leadership.
Yes.
And it's so evident. It's like they can't see themselves, but everyone else can see it. And for a long time, I denied that leadership. And people kept coming to me as leader, asking me to step into leadership role, in Landmark, being like, you're a coach, or you coming to me and being like, this is for you. And it came to a point where I had to accept that leadership in me. And I think I just wanted to share that because I think that's common. There's people out there that they really are a born leader, and half the battle is them seeing what everyone else sees in them, and people keep calling them into their leadership, and they resist and they resist and they resist. And there's a lot of reasons why, because then you have to play a big game, you have to be responsible for something bigger, you have to step out of your comfort zone, be unattached, but that was my experience, and it was just like you were kind of a part of that journey of being like, stop this crap, stop playing small.
Yeah.
It's time.
I've been saying that for many years after that too.
I know.
I want to offer something because that's really smart. Again, I really do think everybody has the capacity for it. Some people are just have the courage to step forward into it more.
Exactly.
What I've noticed with people, and I shared this actually a lot this last weekend, I was speaking at an event in Vegas, and again, you could just tell with certain people and by the questions they're asking. I could always tell the quality of somebody's journey by the questions they're asking. People who ask questions that they only want right answers, like they want to be spoon-fed, they don't want to do thinking, they don't want to emote, they don't want to whatever, just look, they don't want to observe. Yeah. They just tell me.
Yeah.
You're not further along, and because that's just not how it works. So anyway, what I've noticed over the years is humans are funny creatures, and we all have the same conversation, which is somewhere at a very young age you started believing you're bad because you did something that your mom or dad didn't want. They said something, you said I'm bad, and usually every human has a conversation of I'm not good enough.
Yep.
We'll all articulate it in different ways, but what you're really just saying over and over again is I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. So I believe because that's running rampant across our entire planet, that's probably like the number one disease right now on the planet is I'm not good enough, that it begins a way of being that creates actions for us to gain attention, because that attention constantly tries to make us believe that we are enough because we're constantly fighting that we aren't. So because that conversation's there, every time we try to get stuff, like we try to get attention, like how does everybody feel when they get compliments? It's like you literally like shrink at the thought or the sound of a compliment. Oh, here comes cat number 2. So I think behind that shrinking phenomena is some conversation that we tell ourselves, like, if you really knew who I was, then you wouldn't say that to me. As if, like, we don't even know how to be authentic. So we're like, well, if I was being authentic, you wouldn't actually want to be around me. Because this is how it occurred to me. And I, like, distinctly remember the switch from, like, here to here about this. And I remember I was in Italy, and we were in a group of, like, 40 people, and they're an amazing group of people. And they're all telling me all these amazing things about myself. And, of course, I'm resisting it. And, like, at every compliment, I'm resisting it. And then at the end of the course, they asked, what did you get out of this program? And I'm standing on the stage, and I'm thinking to myself about everything everyone told me about myself this weekend. And I think, why do these people have zero motivation to lie to me? They don't know me. They don't, whether I get it, don't get it, like, there's no direct impact on their lives. I'm sitting there going, I'm the idiot. Like, I've worked with people for a long time. Whoever's on stage gets it last. The audience gets it first, every single time. So I'm standing on the stage going, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. And I'm like, okay, so here's my choice. I have my story about myself. This story has limited me. It has made me sad. It has made me disconnected. It hasn't made me authentic. It hasn't made me powerful. Their story sounds amazing. Whoever that guy is, like, I would love to be him. And I thought to myself, that's my choice. I either get my story or I get their story, but theirs is way better than
More
mine.
empowering.
And that's it. I just like chose in that moment that their story was more true than mine, and it just transformed my entire life. And I really believe that's like the trigger for leadership. But if you're unwilling to listen when people compliment, which is really a gift they're trying to give you, and think about if someone gives you a gift and you're like, nah, how that makes them feel, how you lose connection with that human. That's what compliments are. They're verbal gifts, right? And it's indicators of your leadership. So if you really just open up to it, there's something really possible there for everybody if they just start listening. Great. Anything else you want to add about this?
Well, it just kind of reminded me of like imposter syndrome, you know?
Tell me more.
Well, that, like, I think this is what happens when a lot of people step into their leadership, or, you know, they're new entrepreneurs. There's this, and I had that, like, this fear of, like, being found out, because when that story is running the show of I'm not good enough, when you start to step to that edge and beyond that comfort zone, there's this fear of being found out as not the leader that people think you are, just like I don't know, it's just what popped in my head. And I think what you shared was really powerful. It's the way to overcome imposter syndrome is to choose a different story. And but I just wanted to normalize that, because I think a lot of people go through that. Like, if you really knew me, you wouldn't be saying those things. But then it's really about considering that you probably don't know yourself. Right. Like, you think you do, but you actually don't know shit, because everything you know about yourself is a story that you've told yourself, and it's not necessarily real.
And it's limited your capacity, it's limited possibilities in your life. You've decided a whole bunch of stuff about yourself. Also, the part I left out is, you know, we have the sensation like if people really did know who we are, they really did not understand our pain or the things that we've been through, as if they wouldn't want to be around you anymore. Like, they would like run away from you. And the irony of this is when I didn't want to talk about my suicide or my depression or my anger, all these things that I dealt with ongoingly for a very long period of time, because I was like, well, I'll get judged and they're going to think I'm weak or meager, and it's like, I just want to show you how strong I am all the time, and how powerful and how together I am, and everything's in control. And of course, like, all it shows up is like the anger, suicide, and depression, because you're hiding all that stuff. And I did an experiment. I'm like, what if I shared it? You know, because it feels like you're going to die when you do. And the funny part is, if you have the courage to step into your authentic self and tell the stories, you will find that people don't run away. It's the exact opposite. It's like honey to bees. They want to be around you. It's actually where your power comes from. Because power occurs in people's listening, right? So there's a way that you're occurring in other people's listening. But mostly what we do is we create agreements with people, whether they're verbalized or not. And agreements are there to create trust. And what we end up doing is just breaking agreements all the time so we don't get found out, right? And then you lose trust. And every time you break an agreement, what you're losing is somebody's listening. So you're losing your power in their listening in the way that you're occurring to them, and you're fucking with that. That's your responsibility, not theirs. And then it's like you can get that back by starting to authentically share, because people are like, wow, now I really get you. Now I'm really connected with you, and then you start getting the listening back. Then you get your power back. So that's leadership right there, right?
And speaking of marketing, right? That's being authentic is something that I know you guys talk about, and something I talk about as well when we coach entrepreneurs, is that the best thing you can do is actually just be yourself and be authentic and vulnerable. And that's what people are looking for too. They're looking for leaders that have the courage to be real, because we've had so much bullshit in this world. And it's like people are craving that connection, and they don't feel alone, because we're all going through it. We all have some sort of pain, and it's really profound when you can do that. One of my best group coaching calls I did with my clients was when I got on the phone and I said, you know what, guys, I don't want to be here. I don't want to fucking be here. I almost canceled this call, but I wanted to share that with you because I didn't want it in the space. And I talked about vulnerability and showing up, and you know, and afterwards, everyone really expressed their gratitude because I was so straight and authentic. So it's you know, instead, and I had this thought that like, oh my God, they're gonna be really pissed that their coach doesn't want to be on the call with them. But it was the exact opposite. They were really,
they're like, I get it.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going through that right now, and like, what do you do when you don't feel like doing something? And it would open up this whole new conversation.
I truly believe in, and it's funny because Katie just asked, she says, can you talk about resisting problems? What's on the other side of that? So, and I lost my train of thought right when I said that. Just tell me what the last thing you said.
Vulnerability,
When you acknowledge where you're at. You know, like whatever it is that you're personally dealing with, like an emotion that's passing through or some issue that you're having, if you show up in the space and you don't acknowledge your stuff, all you're doing is spending your time and your energy hiding that, trying to like project that you're not that way, hiding that you are. And here's the thing, like humans, we pick up on so many different cues. Like nonverbal cues are way more communicative than verbal cues. That's why you can be with a salesperson who's saying all the right stuff, and you're like, this is just, I'm not going to buy it. I don't know why, but I can't trust this person. And it's the same thing. It's like lack of authenticity. They're giving you the script. You know they're not connecting with you. They don't genuinely care. They're self-motivated. And nobody wants to work with somebody who's just in it for themselves. It's like they want to feel like they're going to get value from this relationship, from this product, service, whatever. So that's what we resist. We resist what we're dealing with, which is our humanity. We're resisting our mechanism. We're resisting our emotions. We make everything fucking wrong as if it's not supposed to be there, and it is. How else could it be than the way that it is, right? Like, this is what's here now. Deal with it. But you'll feel so connected when you're just acknowledging it. And I want to be really clear. We're talking about something really distinct than complaining. Because oftentimes when we feel this way, it's part of our identity, right? And that the thing that you're experiencing, your identity, you are not going to dismantle it. It's in there deep. It's in the root system, right? So mostly we spend time with people, organization, and groups that will add agreement to our worldview, to the way that we feel about ourselves. And because of that, we never really break free because we actually think that is the way the world is. Statistically, there's a study right now that shows your average person has 5 best friends in a lifetime. 5 best friends that you know intimately. That means you know 5 people out of 7.3 billion people on the planet intimately. And you think you know the way the world is. Right?
And that you're the average of those
people.
5 people closest to you. Yeah.
So like our worldview is pretty damn small. Let's say even if you had 150 best friends in a lifetime that you intimately knew, out of 7.3 billion points of views on the planet, I don't know what percentage that is, but it's got it's a point and then a lot of zeros, a lot of them, and then like a 1, right? So that's how much you have a sense. So this is good. So let's go into the resistance, because let's go back to your story, because it's not like she decided to be an internet marketer and it's like, like the heavens open, and nor was it like that for me. An entrepreneurial journey is not it's the road less taken for a reason, but by many. Yeah. So there's been a struggle.
Yes.
And I want to talk about the struggle and then like get to how this corner has been turned.
Yeah.
So like, what kept showing up for you? Because it wasn't new, but in entrepreneurial, if you're an entrepreneur, it will magnify the shit out of the stuff you have to deal with.
Yes.
So please talk about that.
Oh gosh, where do I start? Well, I think the very first thing, we talked about this last night, was that so what I learned from that journey of the internet marketing, like I learned so much, and I probably know more than most professional marketers as a result of that. But what I was trying to do was fit myself in a box and do it right? So like, oh, well, that's how that person's doing it, and they're being really successful, so I'm going to try to do it like them.
Right.
And the whole time, it felt icky to me. And so because it wasn't authentic, I was resisting it, or it was definitely showing in the 70% of the nonverbal. So only 30% of what we communicate is verbal.
Yep.
So it was just a constant struggle in that sense, finding what was a good fit for me. And what I've been learning is that each coach, each mentor, it's up to me to choose and take from them like what is going to be part of my recipe.
Right.
And what I was trying to do is being like, well, you do that, so if I copy you, then I'm going to be successful. And I obviously wasn't, and I struggled with it. And when I finally decided, or chose rather, to do what felt authentic for me, that was a couple years ago. That was the first shift. Was no longer fighting with, or I don't know if I'm not being articulate, but trying to fit myself in that box. So that was the first thing. And
can I just add to this a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found, like reading books, having mentors, leaders, whatever, it's really good to get in their world, understand their paradigm and where they're viewing the world from.
Yeah.
But that can't be your paradigm. You can only look at it as like a blueprint for something,
Yes.
and like almost like start walking that path. But you need to know when to like break off and create your own path, because it really doesn't create authenticity. It creates like a disingenuous way of being. So it's really great to get insights. Or like open doors towards what you could be, but I have never found that anybody who copies me or Elon, and I know how many times I try to copy people too who are successful and be them, like very limited results.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, and it's true. And I
Yeah.
tried to copy you guys, but I was just like, but this doesn't. It's not me. And then there was the fear, right? The fear is that if I didn't copy you, then I wasn't going to be successful.
Right.
And then on top of that was a big fucking story of it can happen for you, but it can't happen for me. So it was no belief, no faith. Like it was like looking for evidence. It's just unimaginable. Like I could not imagine having a certain amount of financial success.
Right.
That, for example, I know you guys had within a short amount of time.
So it would seem.
So yeah.
Yeah, which was really not the case for
Yeah.
at least 2+ years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we didn't make money, but like, it's one thing to make money; it's another thing for consistency. Like, if you make a lot of money in 1 month and then the next month you're not making anything, trust me, it doesn't feel great.
Yeah. Well, that's a
Yeah.
great point, is because
Yeah.
I'm watching you guys and I'm making up all these stories about what's going on for you,
Yeah.
not really knowing what's there, but I'm seeing like, oh my gosh, they've made it and they're really successful, and like I just need to do what they're doing, even though it feels crappy. And then it was
The struggle was real. Well, I want to go back to what you said about fear, because Barbara asked, can you talk about why does fear hold you back from taking steps forwards and undermining yourself? I can open the conversation and then you can do with it what you will.
Let's read that one more time. Can you
talk about why does fear hold you back from taking steps forward and undermining yourself? So here's what I can offer you, Barbara, and anybody else who's listening, because this is a common issue for everybody. People have it that fear is wrong. People have it that anger is wrong. People have it that all the things that we call negative emotions are wrong. And what we've studied for a very long period of time is the mechanism of being human. There's a design to humanity. Fear is part of that design. In fact, it's a very important part of that design. Barbara, if you didn't have fear, so I think, and you're not asking how to get rid of it, but you said overcome it, which is, I think, actually more appropriate terminology. If you didn't have fear, tomorrow you would walk out to the street, you'd see cars driving, and you'd walk onto the street, you wouldn't even consider that this could kill you, or that you should remove your hand off a hot stove. That mechanism wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And it's a functional mechanism for your survival. You've made it this far because of fear. Now, where it stops you is in social situations, is in taking risk and chances around business, around communication, around your relationships, things that actually add a lot of value and love and all these beautiful things to life are actually on the opposite side of dealing with your fear. So here's what I'll tell you, and then Steph can give you her version of it, is that I spent a long time trying to overcome my anger, my fear, and stuff like that. Having courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to take action in the face of it. Firemen it's not like they don't experience fear as they run towards a burning building, but they have built a capacity to run towards a fire while everybody runs away from the fire. And that's just in practice and taking risks and becoming more knowledgeable and aware of different things that fire does, I'm sure, which gives them access to a different action and paradigm that me and you just don't have access to. So what I got to, and I think this will also bring it back around to what the title of this is all about, surrendering, is that to all the mechanisms that you have, if you make them wrong, they end up having you instead of you having them, because that resistance creates more power for them. It's like what you resist persists. So what I have found is the more that you can actually like bring love and create like functional relationships with the parts of yourself that you don't like, the less impact they tend to have. And what you're afraid of tends to be where your intuition is calling you towards, but that you don't know what's on the opposite side of that. So your brain goes, well, I don't know what's there, so let's bring up fear because that might be something that has us not survive. So you could say that what you're afraid of is really where your intuition lies also. And I can tell you that Elon and I, we consistently look for what is it we fear, and then we create game plans to take action towards that place. And that's how we built our business, our relationships, everything that we do. We're always looking for the edge of where we're uncomfortable, dealing with that, having a breakthrough in that area, and then going past that wall. And we do that over and over again, and that's created extraordinary lives for us.
Yeah.
So anything you want to add to that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Fear is one of my favorite things to talk about too, because, like you said, it has a biological reason. It's, you know, in the caveman days, you know, you would go walk out your house or cave, and you know, there could be a lion there. Shit, I'm gonna be killed by a lion. But now your brain doesn't know the difference between a lion and rejection, or a lion and fear. For your brain, it's one and the same. It's that survival, and if you can understand that, it's not to invalidate the fear, but if you can see fear as something that is a survival mechanism and it's not necessarily real, that you can have a lot of power. You can then make a choice. And what I have my clients do is sit with their fears, look at them, understand where they sit in their bodies, but then also look at, okay, if this worst case scenario happened, like what would I do? So I actually have them go there, and then they look at all the resources, the community support they have, and then they realize that they would actually be fine, and that a lot of the fear is this unnecessary worry that our brain creates to keep us in our comfort zone, where we're freaking miserable. So it's almost like we would rather be miserable but safe than actually pursue our happiness, our joy, our calling, and face that fear. But you know, what you can do is just what I have my clients do is just take one small step, and I think your approach might be a little different. You're more like, let's jump off the cliff. I don't know if our brain can, it's a lot for our brain to do that. So what I do with my clients is I take them like baby steps, and it's like desensitizing your brain. And then all of a sudden you've taken 10 baby steps and you look back and you go, oh, that wasn't so bad. Oh my God, I'm still here. What? But you shared my favorite quote too. It's like, courage is acting in the face of fear. It's not about, the fear will never go away. Never. It'll never go away. It's who are you going to be in the face of that? And yeah.
Nothing goes away. It just changes forms.
Yes.
You play different games. You have different contexts. Like, people are always wanting to overcome their problems. Problems, again, are part of the design of being human. We create problems because it gives us actions to take, right? So regardless of what context you have, that context has an inherent problem or problems. So if you're not making enough money, there's problems there. You think because people who have money don't have those problems, they don't have those problems, but they have other problems that you can't even imagine right now, and that context has inherent problems. In fact, those are bigger problems, right? So it's so funny you said that about, like, we would just throw them off a cliff. So we're rebranding the company, and one of the things she came up with is Guy and Elon. We throw you off a cliff, but we give you a parachute on the way down. And when you get to the bottom, we'll give you a snack. like something like that. It's like so us. Yeah, we're like, just jump, man. Like, you'll be fine. Because we want to teach you that, like, all the things that you think are going to kill you won't. They really, really won't. And it's like building the capacity to understand, like, how resilient you actually are. That you will figure it out no matter what happens. It's so freaking important to, like, give yourself those experiences. It also, like, I think there's a little bit of a misnomer about the caveman days. Yes, there's like lions and stuff like that, but humans actually don't have natural predators. Like, you don't go outside and worry like a giraffe is going to come and like nip your head off or something. We don't really have natural predators. Do things happen? Of course. Like, the probability of anything happening will probably happen. So I believe what has happened is we are designed for stress, but we're not designed for acute stress. And so back in the day, like, we think of it as like a really stressful time being a cave person. I imagine it probably was not. It was probably quite leisurely. Like, think about it. They had to gather and hunt. Once that was over, pretty much took care of their survival stuff. And then it's like leisure time, speaking time, whatever it is they did for leisure. But we've designed a world that creates acute stress because our interactions create acute stress. You just go outside and you have to deal with the world coming at you in such a strong way. And I think we're not okay with that. And there's cortisol and all these biological things that happen that program this in and just start creating, like, that's the way that you're supposed to be. It's why I moved from New York City, because I was so tired of that acute stress. Great, so let's take all of this and let's bring it to surrendering, right? Because we've been on the fringe of talking about it. So I want to talk about more recently. You don't have to get into the experiences necessarily, but like, What has opened up for you around surrendering? What could you say about that? In business and relationships, and I'm particularly bringing this up, guys, because Steph is like at a huge turning point in her business, where she really stepped into her authentic self, and now the results are like, boom, right? And that's what happens. It's like the moment you align with that, it's like your frequency changes, your belief changes, and you just surrender to what's so. And she's just at that turning point. So it's just a really beautiful moment in time where freedom becomes like this really powerful access.
Yeah.
And like the results are just like starting to pop.
Well, what the realization that I've come is, so, we talked about this earlier on, is like the fight. Like, I've been in a constant struggle with my business, with wanting results, and it's how most of us are trained. Like, if you want a certain result, you work really hard, and it's all about the doing, and if you don't get the result that you want, then do more. And so for a long time, it was just like, how much can I learn? How much can I do? Eventually, the doing will pay off, and I still wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I know you talk about this a lot. There's this whole other aspect that we never really discuss, and it's the being. And but there was no room for the being because I was too busy doing. And what I saw was that I was pretty much wearing myself out, but that whenever I let go a little bit and just had faith that I've done enough, and like just having this really deep-rooted belief, that's when the results started to show up. And I'll share this. So what's recently happened is I this past weekend I did a medicine ceremony, and what I realized was I've essentially been fighting with God. And from when I was 13, like, went to church, was like, screw this stuff, Bible, what, and I cut off God at that point. And I've constantly been looking for evidence, and then I see all these other people that are like surrendering and spiritual, and they're getting results, and so I'm like, well, maybe there's something to this faith thing, yeah, this belief thing, but I've been fighting it, and what I saw is that if I stop fighting, then I can let all the seeds that I planted and let the universe fill that gap. But our logical brain can't handle that. So for me, I was like, that's not possible. What? I can't grasp that. But what I've done in the last week and a half is just surrendered to, what? Like, I've done everything I know to do, and I just got to believe that the universe has my back, and that there's something that I don't see here, and let me just try on peace for a little bit. Let me just try on fun and pleasure. And I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough, but like, essentially the minute I did that, it was like the floodgates opened. And it's never been easier. It's so easy. The minute I stopped fighting, and it's like, what it reminds me of is, how do you catch a monkey? You put a banana in a cage, and the monkey puts the hand in the between the bars and grabs the banana, and will not let go of the banana, and so you've trapped the monkey. And so you need to let go. All that monkey needs to do is let go of the banana, and then it's free. Yeah. And that's what I did. I was just like, no, I gotta get this banana. And then the minute I let it go, I was free, and the results I wanted started to come my way.
There's a banana tree right there. You can find that banana. I know. So I want to be sensitive to time. It's 10:13.
Okay.
So I know you need to go soon. So let's just wrap this up a little bit. So here's what I'll tell you guys. Whatever your connotation for faith and spirituality is, whether it's religion or through some other aspect, I recently heard of humanistic, which I never even knew. It basically means you're extremely faith and devotion driven, but you just don't believe in like the traditional God set. It's like you just don't apply it to any religion really, but you still have all those same beliefs, which I do. And it's funny because for me, I think many people have that argument, and mine was right around 13 also, with God, and that traditional view just didn't work for me. And we were talking about this last night, like using that word has been uncomfortable for us because I don't want you to think that I believe in some old man in the sky, like I'm that foolish. And I've resisted that, but it's also killed that relationship. Yeah. Because I'm unwilling to honor it. And it's like, It's like being in a relationship with like a woman and never telling anybody that you're in that relationship because you're afraid of like the judgment. Like, how's that going to go in that relationship? Not great, right? So I believe in faith and devotion, and I think like faith is that willingness to believe and create in possibilities beyond what the cerebral mind can imagine, and just like stepping into something with faith, right? So when I did Vipassana and she did it as well, I loved his version of it. Faith is the eyes, devotion is the legs. He goes, if you have faith but no devotion, you can see where you're going, but you don't have any legs to carry you. You can have devotion without faith, but then you'll be walking on the path. You don't have eyes to see where you're going, so you're constantly veering off the path.
Yes.
And these things are so important in terms of your ability to create beyond the beliefs that you've generated through the stories you've told yourself, that honestly are just ways that you've created stories to overcome trauma in moments of trauma through circumstances. And you've decided all these things about yourself, and just like that monkey grabbing the banana, sentencing itself to prison, you're grabbing bananas and sentencing yourself to prison in all these different ways. And by the time you come work with someone like me or Steph, and you're like, well, who are you? And they like tell you like, this is what I do and this is what I'm about, and like that's it. Completely forgetting that you're part of this infinite universe, infinite possibility universe, and you're just a speck of that. So infinite possibilities available to you, but the access to that is all inside the world of faith.
Yeah.
And the moment you do that, like, manifestation just starts going off like crazy. So in the interest of time, any parting words?
Oh man. Yeah, well, I just kind of wanted to share that it was a shift. It was the shift in being, not a shift in doing, that made the difference. And when it was like taking a breath of fresh air, and I just let go, and I was like, okay, I don't know. I just don't even know if I'm able to explain it. It's something you have to experience, and each person has their journey, and then when you experience it, you get it. So like, you've been through that tunnel and you've come out the other end. So when I've shared this with you, you're like, oh my God, yeah, I know, because you're on the other side. You're like, welcome to my land. Welcome. But for me, like, it's like, shared this last week. I've worked the least amount this month and made the most financially that I've ever made in my entire life in a month. Yeah. And it's just a whole new paradigm that, again, my logical brain and probably our society cannot understand, because we're all trained to, time equals money, time equals abundance. And when you shift into this place of surrender and faith, that's no longer the paradigm for you.
Not at all.
Yeah. It's really powerful, and I'm just standing in my power. Like, all of a sudden something switched, and I know who I am. I know how I serve people. I know that I'm good at it, and I know that the people that are looking for me will find me. Yeah. And that's it.
It's really interesting, like, there are experiences of balance, right? Like, this is an experience of balance, and that's what I'm starting to see there. It's all these manifestations in different ways to see just different variations of balance. So like, when we're young, we learn how to ride a bike. In the physical universe, it's a way to gain balance. But you should have insights about that, because it's kind of how it works in the spiritual realm also. There's balances to be gained. So something that I've recently said, like, people have it that balance is like a static thing. Like, I'm balanced right now, so I'm good. But if you think about like a man on a tightrope or a woman on a tightrope, and they have their balancing pole, is there any point in time where that's not shaking?
Yeah.
Never. Right? In order to gain balance, you have to keep this moving, which means course correcting all the time, and move forward.
Yes.
And those two things together create balance. Mostly people look at the things in their life, they want to do it one way, which means they don't want to course correct, they want to know the right answer, so it's just one way, and they're unwilling to move forward until they know the right answer, which means they never find balance. So it's like, you have to, when someone asks about fear is an ability to keep course correcting. I'm afraid. And then like, move, and courage is moving towards that fear. And when you apply those two things together, what results is faith, is balance, but what's really come up is faith.
Yeah.
Right? And then the more you do that, the more you just start getting progress, and then like, things like that happen, and I couldn't agree more. I've done an experiment this whole year about doing less, adding more faith, and watching it, because I couldn't correlate more work to my business growing, and in fact my business has almost doubled this year just stepping into that. And it's just magical and easy and seamless, and things just attract you. And I'm working with a coach this year who I see doing that at the highest level, because I just want more and more accountability around my faith, basically. That's it.
That's it.
Any parting words?
I'm gonna leave with my favorite quote, or what's actually my own quote. I always say this is that like perfectionism is just procrastination with a better looking suit.
Woo!
Yeah, and so
I like that.
I just want to leave that as the parting words. Is like for those of you that think you need to get it right before you take action. I mean, all that is just procrastination. It's just take action. And so I just hope this conversation inspires you to take a new action. So you can't keep taking the same action you're taking because you're just going to keep going on that same path. You do need to course correct. So what is that action that you're going to take today that's going to be a pivot to bring you into the direction that you really want to go? And most likely, whatever that action is, it's probably the action that's the most scariest for you.
Yeah.
But that's the one to take.
I love it. I say procrastination is like masturbation. In the end, you're only fucking yourself. Good night, everybody. How do I stop this thing?